Waking up between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. isn't an accident. It's a wake-up call from your mind and body. While most people turn over and waste these quiet hours, you have a rare opportunity to outpace the competition, reflect on your life, and get a head start on mastering your day. But here's the catch. If you're not using this time wisely, you're wasting your potential. There was a time when waking up at 3 a.m. used to frustrate me. I'd stare at the ceiling, hoping for sleep to take over again. But then, I had a realization. Those still hours weren't a curse, they were a gift, one that most people never get to experience. At first, I thought it was just stress or anxiety keeping me awake, but I soon learned to use these mornings differently. I began reflecting, planning, and reconnecting with myself, and you know what? My life changed. Instead of wasting those early hours, I discovered that they're the perfect time for clarity. There's something powerful about the stillness when the world is quiet, and you're left alone with your thoughts. It's in these moments that you come face to face with things you've been avoiding. These hours hold the answers most people are too afraid to confront, and that's exactly why they're so valuable. Before you hit snooze on your potential, ask yourself, what could you do with this time that most people won't? 1. Reflect on your thoughts. Waking up at 3 a.m. throws most people off. The world is silent and the darkness feels heavier. There's nothing left between you and your thoughts, and that's when the real work begins. When you're wide awake and can't fall back asleep, your mind is practically screaming for attention. But instead of listening, most people panic. They grab their phones, turn on the TV, or scroll through social media to drown out the internal noise. Let's face it, it's easier to escape than to confront what's really bothering you. Here's the truth. Those early morning wake-ups aren't random. They're the universe, or maybe even your subconscious, trying to tell you something. When everything around you is still and all the distractions are gone, you're forced to sit with your own thoughts. And for most people, that's terrifying. You can't hide behind your busy schedule or blame outside factors. At 3 a.m., it's just you and the things you've been avoiding. Most people crack at this point because it's easier to numb yourself than to face the truth. Let me get personal for a second. I used to dread waking up at 3 a.m. I'd toss and turn, desperately trying to shut my mind off. But the truth is, I wasn't just waking up because of a bad dream or too much caffeine. I was waking up because there were parts of my life I had been avoiding. And in the quiet of the night, there was no running away from them. We're going to do this in 5. 3 a.m. has a way of amplifying what you're running from during the day. It's when clarity breaks through, if you let it. 2. Journal your thoughts. When you wake up at 3 a.m., your mind is racing. The thoughts that come at this hour are raw, unfiltered, and often the ones you've been pushing aside. Instead of letting them swirl around in your head, grab a journal and write them down. It might sound basic, but there's something powerful about putting your thoughts on paper. It turns chaos into clarity. Most people don't realize that journaling isn't just about recording the events of the day. It's about processing the emotions and thoughts you've buried deep inside. Those early morning thoughts are often the truths you've been avoiding. Let me share an example. I used to wake up in the middle of the night, feeling overwhelmed by everything I hadn't done or was stressing over. My mind would race with questions like, did I make the right choice? And, am I heading in the right direction? It wasn't until I started journaling that I realized these thoughts weren't random. They were clues to what I was truly struggling with. By putting them on paper, I began to see patterns, recurring fears, areas of my life where I felt stuck. Here's the truth. Most people avoid journaling because they're scared of what they'll uncover. They think that if they don't write it down, it's not real, but it is real, whether you acknowledge it or not. If you don't face it, it will control you. When you journal your thoughts at 3 a.m., you take back control. You give yourself the chance to understand what's really driving you, what's holding you back, and what's keeping you up at night. And here's the key. Don't hold back. Pour everything out. The fears, the frustrations, the hopes, the regrets. This is where growth happens. Journaling at 3 a.m. became one of my most powerful tools for self-awareness. I realized that much of my anxiety stemmed from not taking action on things I knew I needed to do. I'd write down the same fears over and over. Why haven't I made that call? Why am I holding on to this draining relationship? Why am I not stepping up at work? Seeing these thoughts repeatedly made it clear I wasn't moving forward because I wasn't facing the truth. Journaling forces you to confront your own excuses. When you read back what you've written, you can't lie to yourself anymore. If you keep waking up worrying about the same things, it's a sign that you're not taking action where you need to. Most people won't admit it, but deep down, they know. Journaling strips away those excuses and shows you the reality of your situation. When was the last time you gave yourself the space to just think, not about your to-do list, but about what's actually going on in your mind? Journaling at 3 a.m. gives you the chance to be brutally honest with yourself. When you wake up at 3 a.m., your mind is racing. What should you do next? Instead of spiraling into stress and anxiety, turn that energy into something productive. One of the simplest ways to channel your thoughts is by creating a to-do list. It will help clear the mental fog and give you direction. 3. Embrace the quiet and focused productivity. One of the most effective habits you can build during those early morning hours is creating a to-do list. But I'm not talking about a half-hearted scribble of tasks that you'll barely glance at later. I mean a real, detailed list that structures your day with focus and purpose. Here's why this matters. Waking up at 3 a.m. often signals that something in your life is out of balance. You might be overwhelmed by responsibilities, or perhaps you've been procrastinating on important tasks. Making a to-do list during these early hours is your chance to regain control. Control over your day, your mind, and ultimately, your life. Think about it. When you wake up in the middle of the night, your mind races with everything you need to do, and it feels impossible to focus. Writing it down clears up the chaos, providing clarity and structure. Once you put everything on paper, the tasks become more manageable. It's almost like you're shifting the weight from your mind to the page. More often than not, what felt like a mountain of overwhelming tasks turns out to be a series of achievable steps. A good to-do list breaks down the noise and turns your scattered thoughts into actionable steps. But here's the controversial part. Many people avoid making to-do lists because they're afraid of seeing how little they've accomplished. It's easier to leave things vague and convince yourself that you're too busy or overwhelmed. But here's the problem. Eventually, never comes. That 3 a.m. wake-up call is a reminder that it's time to get your act together and take action. So, how do you make a powerful to-do list? Get strategic. I break my lists into 2 sections. Must do. These are the non-negotiables, tasks that must be completed no matter what. They're typically a small number of high-impact tasks that move you forward, whether it's work, personal goals, or health. Nice to have, these are things that would be great to accomplish but won't ruin your day if you don't get to them. By separating the tasks this way, you force yourself to prioritize. Most people try to do everything, and then they feel defeated when they don't complete everything. But focusing on what truly matters will help you move forward, and waking up at 3 a.m. gives you a rare moment of clarity to prioritize. When you focus on the critical tasks and let go of the noise, you'll be surprised at how much you can accomplish. And don't stop there. Go deeper. I now add why next to each task. Why is this important? What's the purpose behind it? This simple practice aligns your to-do list with your long-term goals and values. Instead of just checking boxes, you're creating meaningful, actionable steps toward a more fulfilling life. But let's be real. If you're not making a to-do list, you're just floating through life, reacting to whatever comes your way. A 3 a.m. wake-up isn't a curse, it's an opportunity to take control. It's your mind's way of saying, it's time to get serious. The hardest truth is that most people won't take action because making that list forces them to confront the fact that they've been avoiding their responsibilities. But trust me, once I started making my to-do lists during those early hours, I stopped dreading the day. I knew exactly what I needed to do, and I had a clear purpose and direction. So the next time you wake up at 3 a.m., grab a pen and make a real, focused to-do list. Don't just list random tasks. Focus on what moves you forward, and don't shy away from confronting the things you've been avoiding. That 3 a.m. wake-up isn't something to dread. It's an opportunity to reclaim your life. 4. Embrace the solitude. Waking up between 3 and 5 a.m. often feels like you're the only one awake in the world. The silence is almost eerie, but here's the thing, it's a gift. It's one of the rare moments in the day when the world isn't demanding things from you. No texts, no calls, no distractions. Just you, your thoughts, and pure stillness. Most people hate being alone with their thoughts. It's uncomfortable. We've been conditioned to fill every quiet moment with noise, whether it's scrolling through social media, watching Netflix, or listening to music. But when you wake up at 3 a.m. and everything around you is silent, there's nowhere to hide from yourself. And that's exactly why it's so powerful. Here's the truth. Most people avoid this silence because they're afraid of what they'll find. They're afraid of facing their insecurities, doubts, and failures. It's easier to drown it all out with distractions. But when you wake up in the middle of the night, that silence is your opportunity to reflect deeply on your life. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but discomfort is where growth happens. I remember when I used to dread waking up in the middle of the night. The quiet made me feel anxious, restless, and even lonely. It magnified my problems. But over time, I realized that the quiet forced me to reflect in ways I couldn't during the busy day. There were no distractions, no one to influence my thoughts, just me. And that was powerful. One night, while I was staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of everything I hadn't done, instead of running from those thoughts, I embraced them. I let the quiet wash over me. I asked myself tough questions. Am I happy with where I am? Why do I keep avoiding certain things? What am I really afraid of? The answers didn't come from distractions. They came from the stillness of the moment. The silence might bring up uncomfortable thoughts, but that's exactly why you should embrace it. It gives you the clarity to see what's truly important. Most people avoid these moments because they fear what they might discover about themselves. But those who sit with the silence, who embrace solitude, are the ones who gain clarity, growth, and purpose. Next time you wake up at 3 a.m., don't reach for your phone. Don't try to distract yourself. Sit in the quiet, let your mind wander, and reflect on the tough questions. You might be surprised at what you discover about yourself. And when the sun rises, you'll be ahead of the game, because while everyone else was sleeping, you were getting to know the most important person in your life. You. 5. Why your body at 3 a.m. It's 3 a.m. and you're wide awake, while the world is fast asleep. You're probably feeling stiff, heavy, or restless. The temptation is to just lie there, hoping sleep will return. But what if, instead, you use this moment to tune into your body? A simple stretch can make all the difference, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally too. Most people underestimate how much tension we carry in our bodies. A good stretch at this hour could be the reset you didn't know you needed. Here's the reality. When you're tossing and turning, your body is practically begging for release. Stretching isn't just about loosening tight muscles, it's about waking up your entire system. After lying still for hours, your muscles get tight, your blood flow slows down, and your body starts to feel stagnant. Stretching brings it all back to life, sending fresh oxygen and blood where it's needed most. I'll be honest, I used to ignore the signals my body was giving me, waking up at 3 a.m. feeling restless both mentally and physically. I just lie there staring at the ceiling, hoping sleep would come back. But then I started incorporating stretches into my early wake-ups. It shifted my energy completely. I'd roll out of bed, do a few simple stretches, and a wave of relief would wash over me. All that tension I'd been carrying throughout the day and night just melted away. Let's be real, most people think stretching is just for yoga enthusiasts or athletes, but your body needs attention, especially after a day of being hunched over a computer or glued to your phone. That 3 a.m. wake-up call? It's your body telling you, hey, you've been neglecting me, let's fix that. And here's the kicker, we live in a world that glorifies mental strength and productivity, but we neglect our bodies until something goes wrong. We push through discomfort, ignore the stiffness, and then wonder why we feel drained. We take our bodies for granted until they break down. Stretching at 3 a.m. when the world is quiet is a way to reconnect with your body. It's a way of giving it the care it deserves. And when you stretch, your mind benefits too. The two are deeply connected. When I started stretching in the early hours, it became more than just a physical release. It was almost like a ritual. Stretching wasn't just about loosening up my muscles. It was about loosening up my mind. The stress, the overthinking, the mental clutter, it all started to fade. It became almost meditative. I wasn't just stretching my body. I was stretching my mind, creating space for clarity and peace. But stretching in these quiet hours isn't just about feeling good. It's about preparation. You've been lying still for hours, your muscles tense, your circulation slow. How can you expect to face the day without getting your body in the right state first? Stretching is self-respect. It's a way of telling yourself, I'm going to be intentional about how I start my day. I'm going to care for my body so it can carry me through whatever comes next. There's a mental shift that happens when you stretch at 3 a.m. You go from feeling restless and anxious to feeling in control of your body and mind. It's empowering. You've taken that moment of discomfort and turned it into something productive, something that benefits you. And there's something almost magical about stretching in the dark, in the silence, when the world is asleep. It's just you, your body, and the stillness. No distractions, no noise. The practical side of stretching. Now, you don't need a full-blown workout at 3 a.m. Start small, simple stretches like reaching your arms above your head, rolling your shoulders, or touching your toes can do wonders. I like to begin with a full-body stretch, reaching my arms as high as I can and feeling that pull in my spine. Then I move into some gentle neck rolls, shoulder rolls, and hamstring stretches. It doesn't need to be fancy. It just needs to be intentional. Listen to your body. Where do you feel tight? Stretch those areas out. I've found that after just a few minutes of stretching, I feel not only physically more relaxed, but mentally clearer too. My mind isn't racing anymore. The act of focusing on my body pulls me out of my head. It's like hitting a reset button. By the time I'm done, I feel grounded, connected to myself, and ready for whatever comes next, whether that's going back to sleep or taking on the day. Let's face it, most of us don't give our bodies the attention they deserve. We sit in front of screens all day, hunched over, disconnected from our physical selves. Then we wonder why we feel stressed, tense, and drained. Stretching at 3 a.m. is your chance to reverse that cycle. It's your moment to reconnect with your body, release the tension, and honor the vessel that carries you through life. It's a small act of self-care that can have a huge impact on how you feel physically and mentally. So the next time you wake up at 3 a.m., don't just lie there. Get up, stretch, and feel the tension melt away. It's not just about flexibility or fitness. It's about giving yourself the space to reset, clear your mind, and prepare for the day ahead. Trust me, you'll thank yourself later. So the next time you find yourself awake between 3 and 5 a.m., don't see it as a curse. See it as an opportunity. These quiet hours could be the game changer you never knew you needed. Reflect, stretch, plan, and embrace the solitude. While everyone else is stuck in their same old routine, you'll be ahead of the game, using those precious hours to grow, reset, and take control of your life. Remember, life doesn't wait for the perfect time. Sometimes the best moments happen when the world is asleep. What will you do with your 3 a.m.?